Peace. My name is Mrs. Lacey Taylor, also known as the Melanated Millennial Homemaker. As a homemaker for 10 years and unschool mother for 8, I know how vital mental health wellness is when it comes to learning. But before I get into that, let's fast forward about 13 years prior. Being retired Army, I know all about stress. Let's face it, there's 2 types of stress. It's good stress and bad stress. And the good stress, we call it eustress, and the bad stress, which is distress. And being in the Army, I know all about that distress, okay? And one thing that is not conducive to learning is distress. In my homeschool, one thing that we practice is mindfulness. And in doing so, one thing that I have my oldest learner do right now, my 2 youngest, they're a little too young, but my oldest learner, one thing that I have him do before we start our day of learning is he has to write the date, and he also has to put a magnet, and they're different color magnets, next to his emotion that he's feeling at the moment. So he has 5 different emotions he can choose from. Excuse me. So those emotions are happy, sad, frustrated, content, and angry. Now, in doing so, he is aware that his emotion can change throughout the day. He's aware that just because he might be feeling frustrated right now, he knows that he can be happy, in a couple of hours, maybe even a couple of minutes. One thing we practice is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the key to conducive learning and helping the learner to learn what it is they want to learn as well as what they need to learn. When they're mindful of how they feel, they're mindful of the things that they want to learn as well as the way in which they want to learn them. Also, when we talk about mental health wellness and homeschooling, we have to talk about our learning styles. Knowing your learning style as well as your student's learning style is integral to a successful homeschool journey. With the 3 different learning styles, there's a multitude, ranges of, the learning style that your child and yourself might possess. And sometimes, an individual might be, a combination of learning styles. But knowing the learning styles, it helps to decrease stress. For instance, I am a visual learner. My son is a kinesthetic learner. I cannot teach my son how I, like to learn or how I prefer to learn. I have to teach him in the way that he can learn. And being a kinesthetic learner, he likes to learn with his hands. He's hands-on. My son's an artist. And so one thing that we do, with learning history is he has to find a picture of that historical figure. And with that picture, he has to sketch that picture. And he also has to write out their autobiography. Being a kinesthetic learner, this helps him to learn more about the person he's learning about. He's able to look at their features while, learning about their life. And the person he's learning about right now is Alberto Santos. He's one of the creators of the airplane. And one thing that he has in common with Alberto Santos is, for one, he's melanated, and 2, he has siblings just like he does. And that's the beauty of being able to homeschool and to be able to homeschool in a stress-free environment. Children get to learn what they want to learn. My son, he wanted to learn about the history of airplanes. So we're learning about airplanes. We're learning about the history. We're learning about, what speed is, what velocity is, but in a fun way. Education is stressful. Whether you be in the public school system or even private school, it's stressful. Even sometimes homeschooling, more often than not, is stressful. when homeschooling, out of all types of schooling, should be as stress-free as possible. Because when we homeschool, our students are able to learn what they want to learn in the way that they learn best. And the number one way, my advice to you, is to learn your learning style, as well as learn your child's learning style. Learning your learning styles and, finding out the different ways in which you can teach your children, and to where you can learn different materials to teach your children, it alleviates a lot of stress. I cannot, begin on, the stress that a lot of families encountered when the pandemic started. And a lot of that honestly can be alleviated if, for one, we weren't under so much stress, but it's hard to be under stress during that time, but two, knowing your child's learning style and knowing your learning style. For instance, like I said, with my son being a kinesthetic learner and myself being a visual learner, I learn best by reading and, watching. He learns best by hands-on. If a lot of parents knew their child's learning style, a lot of stress would be alleviated. And lastly, I want to talk about curriculum writing. Curriculum writing, it might seem very daunting, but believe you me, curriculum writing is very simple. Coach Tina can tell you, okay? One thing that, has helped me, and as well as other families, to alleviate stress in their homeschool journey is to encourage them and show them just how easy it is to write your own curriculum. I've established a template, a curriculum map template, to help you write out 6 months worth of curriculum in at least 1 hour. Well, at max, I should say 1 hour. It reduces the stress on you. It reduces the stress on your learner. However, needs are being met. And all you got to do is play and play. Going forward, one thing that I suggest for families, if you haven't started practicing this already, is to have a day that you use for mental health wellness, a day where you stop everything and just use that day to let everybody do what makes them happy. And these days in my home are called mental health days. And on these mental health days, everyone does what they love to do. My son, he binge watches, Wakfu or whatever anime. I crochet or bake. My husband does his wood drilling. And my baby girl, I let her have a ball with Coco Melon. And, we all relax. Nobody's under stress. And with this, going into Monday, we're not dreading it. We're actually excited to get back to learning, because we learn Monday through Thursday. Friday is our mental health day. Come Monday, we're recharged, ready to learn, and ready to tackle the math problem that we were getting wrong last week. Stress, like I said, there's 2 types of stress. You got the good stress and the bad stress. That's eustress and distress. It's time for us to start experiencing more eustress, and it's time to start kicking distress butt. Start asking yourself when you first wake up, how am I feeling today? And then ask your children, how are you feeling today? But you don't have to ask them directly. What I do is I put on the whiteboard those 5 different emotions, and my son has to put a little magnet, a color magnet, next to how he feels. We don't discuss it unless he wants to discuss it. But check in on how you feel. Check in on your emotions. And when you check in with your emotions, there might be a day where, I can't do homeschool today. And it's okay to say I need a break. But how would you know if you didn't check in with your emotions prior to that learning session for the day? Check in with your emotions. Allow your children to check in with their emotions. And when you do this, you're practicing mindfulness, and you're setting yourself up for success in that day, and as well as for the future. I invite you to reach out to me on Facebook. Um, Also, I provided my website, restassuredconsultingllc.com. You can find me on Facebook at Lacey Taylor. And also for the melanated homemakers, I have a community called the Melanated Millennial Homemaker, Embracing Femininity, where we embrace everything about homemaking, being melanated, and family servitude. We cover homeschooling, we cover mental health wellness, recipes, parenting, love, relationships, you name it. If it has to do with homemaking, we cover it. I also have the Melanated Homemaker University. It's amazing. We just celebrated our first graduation. Listen, these ladies, I'm so proud of them. They're better with their homeschooling journey. They've written 6 months of curriculum in an hour and 30 minutes. And honestly, these ladies, they have set themselves up for success. And I couldn't be more proud of them. They've learned how to minimize the stress, not only in their homeschooling, but in their everyday life, as well as in their families' lives. And, I'm excited. And if you're looking to better your homemaking journey or looking for some ways to, increase, your homemaking skills, I invite you to come on over and slide into my DM, and I'd be more than happy to, help you on your journey. So remember, in closing, there's two kinds of stress. You have the eustress, which is the good stress, and you have the distress, which is the bad stress. When we check in with ourselves, we're eliminating the distress and we're elevating the eustress. So until next time, balance, love, and lights. And I'm wishing you nothing but success on your continued homeschooling journey.